Hey everyone, I'm Carolyn from Tranquil Mentor, a nurse and a creative wellness coach, and I'm going to be showing you how I made this $7 Dollar General Christmas tree into a Valentines Backstreet Cupid tree with tattoo style ornaments, used bullet casings, 3D printed bow and arrows, and brass knuckles. This white pre-lit tree was originally $28 and was 70% off after Christmas. I had so much fun shopping that day. What a bargain. To make the tattoo ornaments, I printed this out on some vinyl that I got from Temu, and it is vinyl sticker paper by Ishang, and it is premium matte, and you get 20 sheets. It's really great to work with, and what I did was I put this in my Cricut design space, and I did a print then cut, and then I have this from Temu also, and it's vinyl laminate, and it's clear laminate, and it has that little sparkle holographic texture to it. And I'm just going to get that started. And I found that the best way to put this laminate on over the vinyl is to let that print dry after it comes out of the inkjet printer. Sorry about my hair. I really have to get it lined up. And I just take that little piece there and I get that adhered down first. And then I get it as straight as I can. Sometimes it's off a little bit, but as long as you get the area covered inside the registration marks, that's what's going to help. And this works easier for me. And what I'm going to do is I have the soft side of my scraper, and I'm just little by little, I have the camera sped up, but little by little, I'm going through, taking my time, pulling the one piece, and then squeegeeing it down, scraping it down, getting rid of all the bubbles. And then when I get to the end, I'm just going to go right off the end of the paper of the vinyl. Making sure too, you can go through and make sure you have all the bubbles out after. Just scrape that down a little bit if you find any areas. But if you take your time, it's not bad at all. And then I just take the scissors and get that little extra piece off. It's good to have it off. You don't have to, but it's easier for me. Now, the Cricut has a hard time reading the registration marks on other, I guess, third-party craft supplies sometimes. So with this, you take Scotch tape and you put it over the registration marks. It's a little trick that I've seen people do, and I wasn't really sure if it was going to work, but what does work is being able to calibrate the Cricut. I use a Cricut maker. If you calibrate the Cricut before, that really helps keep everything lined up. And then this is a fairly new mat. It has a lot of stickability to it. And then I'm just going to take my sheet, and that point, Cricut has given us this point here where we can line up, and you have to make sure that you put it on exactly the way that you did it in Design Space. You put it on there. If you mirror or flip anything, this you don't have to mirror. But if you flip anything, it has to be flipped also in Design Space. So where this turns out, this is the way it's going to cut out. So you line that all up and make sure it's real snug onto the board, no bubbles onto your mat. And then this is just regular tape that I get from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to tape down in the little areas. And then we're going to get started on a Cricut, and the Cricut's reading the registration marks, and the Scotch tape is taking that glare off. It doesn't like the glare for some reason on the laminate or anything, so you have to cover it up with the Scotch tape. And then here it's just cutting out our border. Now I have this on heavy cardstock, so it will do 2 passes, and that's what works for this project, because what I want to do is have these stickers just come off onto the mat, and then they have adhesive on the back. They have a sticker back, so that will help with being able to put it back on the ornament. And then I have my little weed, I guess you call weed tool, and that's from Dollar Tree, and it's like a needle, and there's little shoelaces and little blood drips and all that, and I'm just using that just to make sure I get into those little spaces and get those cut out. You just have to take a little extra time. And then here you have it. I think they look so cool. And some of them are, the 2 cupids are from, I think 2 or 3 of the ornaments are from Kittl. And I put them through AI so that they would have this tattooish Backstreet look to them. And then I'm just going to take all these off, and you can roll your mat. Sometimes it helps get everything off, like the little parts. And there we go. And I'll make 2 sets of these so that I'll have 10 ornaments. And then I went into Lightburn, and in Cricut Design Space to get this, what I did was I saved out, instead of print then cut, I did a Microsoft Save to PDF, and then I bought these into Lightburn. And then I offset them 1/8 of an inch, and then I made a little hanger. And then I've got this 12 by 12, here we are on the laser, and I've got this 12 by 12 piece of, I guess it's like a birchwood plywood type of material, and Dollar Tree does have this at certain times, and when I see it I grab them, and I cut a lot of stuff out with Dollar Tree stuff. And then I'm lining everything up, and you can see I made a little hanger, and it was a circle in Lightburn. That's what made that hanger, and then I welded it. And then I just love the way that holographic looks on there, that laminate. And then we're just going to pull off the back, and it's going to adhere very nicely. And then you can see I have that little 1/8 inch offset in there. And I cut right to the very ends when I offset in Cricut Design Space. I cut to the very ends. It was a 0.01 offset. And I just wanted it very, very close. And then I've got this chain that I got from Home Depot, which is a local hardware store here. And I primed that. I sanded it with a block sander. I guess you call it a sponge sander. And I sanded that all up. And then I had this primer on hand, and I primed it. I had to flip it around quite a bit to get all of it. And I just kept turning it over and flipping it and changing it. And then I just kept it in this coil. And then, went back, did the other side. And then I had some paint, some gold metallic paint. And I usually use that for a lot of things. It's by Rust-Oleum. And then here I 3D printed some of these. I bought them into Tinkercad. It was an SVG, and then I cut them out, or I 3D printed them on my printer. And then I did this gloss red paint, and I'm going to paint them up with that, and that'll give a bow and arrow. And then we have, I had an SVG that I bought into Lightburn, and after this, I bought it into Tinkercad, and I was able to make it into a 3D print file, and I cut that out, or printed that out on my 3D printer also. And you'll see those in a little bit. And I also, when they were finished printing, I sanded them and painted them with some gold paint. And then this is another 3D print file, and I'll link this below. I'll link, any files that I have, I'll link below. And this is a 3D print. I printed it with pink filament, and it's a bottom of a little box, and it has a top. It's like a conversation heart with a little top. So this is a spare piece of what I had left over from Dollar Tree, and I thought I would cut the sign out with this, and that'll work out really very well. Then that will get painted red with that red gloss that I have. And then also I had some watermelon color by Krylon, and I painted the larger heart with the watermelon, and then the smaller heart with the red gloss. And then I've got this back. This is one of the chopping boards from Dollar Tree, and it's Mylar. It's not really thick, but it's thick enough. And I'm going to cut this out with my scissors. I just got a pen mark just to line around it. And it's thin enough where you can cut it out with your scissors. And I'm just going to use that basic shape that I outlined. And also I did cut this in a little bit more after, and I really didn't need to. It would have been fine, but in order to fit it in, I figured I'd cut a little bit off, but it really wasn't necessary. But mainly you just want to cover up those letters so that the light diffuses through. And then I'm matching everything up. I do use Gorilla Glue to adhere that. I find that it just works better for me for things like Mylar and all that, and like gluing things to wood. And then the letters, the O's and the E's and the L had a little piece in it, and they dropped right through my, I'm trying to remember the name of they dropped right through the honeycomb. And what we'll do here is I took the little pieces after I cut them out on the Cricut. I took the little pieces and I put them on, and I put them on with a release tape, transfer tape, piece of clear tape. I'm trying to remember the name of that as well. But I got that on there, and then now what I have is these, I took their coin battery operated lights. I get them from Amazon, and I had some tape that I used for bandages, and instead of hot gluing it in, I didn't know if I was ever going to have to take them out. I may. And I just taped them in there, and I dispersed them in all around so that they would shine through evenly. And then I will glue that on. And then I'm showing you the stick. I painted that. I don't end up using it. And then I have these wings, and they are from Dollar Tree years ago. They would come out at Christmas time, and I would just grab a bunch of them. And I use them for so many different things. And I'm just taking black paint and trying to make them look dirty. And then have a fan brush, and I'm lightly brushing over the wings. Just kind of make them look worn. I love the way that came out. I love the little fur on the back too. And then I'm going to line this up the best I can. Not perfect by any means. And when it looks even to me, I'm just going to take a pencil line and trace around the heart. And then that way I'll be able to take my hot glue, I'll test it, make sure it's working, and then I'm just going to go all around the line of that pencil line with my glue gun. And then I'll line that back up and put that down. Take another look at it, get it straightened out. And I have a little bit of movability here. Not long, but a little bit. And then I'm going to seal those edges with the glue. I do wish I would have left a little opening in there so that I could get in to pry it open if I need to get in. And I actually did have to, John had to weld this, or solder is the word, not weld, because I broke the wire and it's my last set. So he did have to do some surgery on it, but we got that straightened out. And then I'm just gluing this back in and just putting a border around it. And I love the way that came out. That looks so cool. And those little pieces that fall through the honeycomb are very interesting. And then here we have it. We've got our Cupid, and we've got the heart with the dagger. And a lot of these originated from Kittl, and then I put them into AI. And there's our brass knuckles, our bullets. I love the lovage sign. I did redo it because the wings were down too low, so we took them off and glued them back together again. And we've got our love with the money coming out the top, and then our gold chain winding through. And the lights really make the tree look pink. We've got our bullets. The lights really make the tree look pink, and it is white. And then I've got some hearts from my previous tree that I did, my previous Valentine's tree. I had a lot of them left over, so I put those on too. And I love the way that they offset everything, give a little bit of softness and glitter to it. And it just gives it a little something special. And then here it is in the dark. And there's our love dagger, heart dagger, and then our bad Cupid. or Backstreet Cupid, we should call him. And just panning through just to give you an idea of how beautiful that light looks in there and how it lights up the tree at night. Very, very pretty. I'm so excited about the way that this came out, and I'm really glad that I did it. They've got the rose there with the brass knuckles, the gold chain, and that's how the idea came up. So it's pretty awesome. And if you make a Valentine tree, share the inspiration and tag us on Instagram at Tranquil_mentor, or visit us on Facebook at Tranquil Mentor. Thank you for being here. Like, comment, subscribe, and hype this video for more tranquil creativity and heart-centered healing. We'll see you in the next one.